Hey, and welcome to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Jordan Smith. Today, we've got the one and only Mark Barry on with us. Mark from up in Campbell River. He's the voice of the Campbell River Storm of the VIJHL. Welcome.
Hey, good to talk. It's been a long time.
It has been. This last year has been obviously difficult for everybody involved. There's, especially in the sports world, things have been challenging. And us broadcasters haven't had a whole lot to do. So what have you been up to for the last year?
Actually, I've been doing an awful lot of stuff in behind the scenes, putting video together, focusing on the alumni a lot. So if there was anything to do with hockey, I found a way to worm my way in there.
Well, it's 30 plus degrees outside, hot and sunny in the middle of the summer. So as far as I'm concerned, it's no better time to talk hockey.
That's right.
I just wanted to touch base and see, what was the last season like. Obviously, we both working in the VI. It was cut short for pandemic reasons, as a lot of leagues did around the province. Maybe take a look at some of the other leagues around BC and how they coped. The BCHL did something a little different, the WHL. But let's maybe focus on the VI a little bit. There's some big changes coming to the VI this year, and I think there's a lot of positives on the horizon, but let's go back. What did the pandemic look like for you up north?
It was a strange season, not nearly as strange as it was for you guys in the south. We at least played all the northern teams, so our cohort was solid right through, and you were playing teams you were used to playing, and it was the hockey was great. The fact that there were no fans in the stands was really weird. And I missed a couple of goals because there weren't fans there to help me. So it was an interesting year. I got to say, from the players' perspective, they really stepped up, and it wasn't quite the experience you're used to having, say, in Campbell River. But they were just happy to play. But it was a strange year, no question about it. And I think that a lot of they started the season with unfinished business, and I still think. For a lot of the hockey players, there's still unfinished business, and I particularly feel bad for the 20-year-olds who had to go through 2 seasons of it. So it was a strange year, no doubt.
I remember when the first season got canceled early, mid-playoffs, so the beginning of the pandemic, before things got really bad. I threw a tweet out on Twitter that got a little traction as far as the 20-year-olds. And I suggested that maybe the 20-year-olds should be allowed to come back under certain circumstances. And a lot of people agreed, a lot of people disagreed. And obviously that didn't happen. But before the pandemic really took hold and things got really bad, what would have your thoughts been on the 21-year-old thing? Because back east, the Junior B does see 21-year-olds playing.
Yeah, I know. I was back and forth on this one. I really feel bad for the 20-year-olds, but we are a developmental league, so somebody was going to pay down the line if you're keeping some 20-year-olds or 21-year-olds longer. What does that do at the other end with the 16 and 17-year-olds? So I can see both sides of it. I really feel bad for the 20-year-olds. I know so many of them. I know, and you do as well. But the case of the Campbell River Storm, the 20-year-olds this past year were very special. They've been together for 3-4 years, and it's hard. Nobody can predict what would have happened, but this was probably one of the best Campbell River Storms teams I've seen since 14-15. So it was really disappointing from that perspective. But I'm of two minds on that. I completely get the 21-year-old thing, but what happens to the 16, 17-year-olds?
Yeah, and when I put that out, I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it. It was more just a conversation starter. It was more a what if.
Well, and absolutely, because you weren't the only person thinking about it. A lot of people were thinking about it, feeling really bad for the 20-year-olds, and particularly the 20-year-olds, and those on teams that were in the playoffs and still alive for the 19-20 season. I mean, they lost out on 2 playoff runs, and at 19, 20 years old, I mean, some people may think that's the end of your hockey career, but it's not. These guys have opportunities to play college hockey, go to Europe, and 19 and 20-year-olds, that's what they're showcasing for. We're a developmental league. We develop 16 and 17-year-olds, but the 19 and 20-year-olds, they're also developing for college and maybe the pros in Europe or elsewhere around the world. So that was I think for a lot of them, a missed opportunity to showcase just how good they are. So, I think it was a great question to ask. I just don't know if there was a solution to it.
Well, and when the second season was canceled last year, when we got canceled partway through the year, obviously that really drove home that it wasn't really a possibility. If the 21-year-olds were allowed to play last year, it would have just compounded the problem. And again, those 16-year-olds, it's important to develop them properly. And if you've got a talented 16-year-old player who's maybe not ready for junior A, but he's on top of midget, he needs to have that transition team. And that's generally where junior B comes in. So if you've got that 15 or 16-year-old player that's looking at the BCHL or better, and 21-year-olds are taking up that roster slot, they're kind of getting left in the wind. And again, those 19 and 20-year-olds, it's hard. It's a no-win situation.
No, you're right. And you hit the nail on the head. That's what junior B has become in British Columbia. And it's not Jungle B anymore. It's a developmental league. And for a lot of players that move on to junior A, they can thank that 1 year in the KI, the VI, or the PJ for getting them ready to be able to play at the junior A level. And, that's what junior B is there for. Junior B is there for a lot of reasons, but one of the key reasons is to get those kids ready to get to the next level.
Well, I want to take this a couple seconds just to thank a couple of people that got our show off the ground. It's been a lot of work. Scott Harrigan from Independent Sports News got this ball rolling. So I want to thank Howie for Howie's Car Corral, Galaxy Motors. They're our studio location right now in Colwood. We've got an awesome studio set up because of them. So I want to thank those two organizations as well as ISN for getting this down. And we're part of the brand new sports broadcast coalition of Raw Sports. We're doing a lot of unscripted stuff. So I want to thank Mark for joining us today. And I think we have a lot of fun stuff coming. I know Mark and I have been talking about some possibilities going down the road of having a little bit of an unstructured platform to have some good conversations about hockey.
Well, there's lots to talk about. There's so much to talk about. You look at what's going on out east with the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League, Junior B striving to be Junior A, and then you look at the model here in British Columbia. There's lots to talk about.
Well, shifting to maybe less of the negative from the pandemic, we are seeing some pretty significant changes in Junior B hockey on the island. For those of you that haven't been following hockey, well, obviously the pandemic has kind of thrown the brakes on sports for obvious reasons, but the VIJHL has got 2 new teams coming into the league. And Mark, I want to get your take on Lake Cowichan and Port Alberni and what's that going to look like for the VI.
I'm so excited. That was the best news I could have received. That and the fact that the Okanagan Lakers are joining the BCIHL. It's been a really, really good couple of months. But 2 great franchises. To have Port Alberni back in the VIJHL is huge. I love the name. I love the Mars Bomber, the Port Alberni Bombers. It looks like they've got a good formula to be successful. Lake Cowichan Kraken, you know what? It's going to be interesting. Those road trips into Lake Cowichan are going to be interesting in the middle of winter. But no, it's I couldn't be happier, and they've got some good people running those organizations. Galen Patterson, comes from L'Orange as an associate coach there. Played several years of hockey at the AHL level. Knows the game. Then you've got Ray Tremblay at Lake Cowichan, who just came off a successful run as a head coach in the FHL out east in the Atlantic Seaboard. You've got some good people running those programs. I think it's great news for the VIJHL.
It's definitely going to make the North Division really interesting because you're going to have teams from Campbell River to Lake Cowichan. You're going to see some college level road trips there almost because it's not a short drive going from the Storm Barn to the Kraken Barn.
No, it's not. And that last 30 kilometers could be interesting in the middle of January. So, but you know what? The one thing that I really have to applaud the VI on doing is the way they've set up the schedule. It looks like even though the Storm are playing and all the teams are playing 4 extra games, 52 game schedule, the travel hasn't really increased because for the Campbell River Storm, they're only going down to Victoria once, Peninsula once, and likewise. So the that travel there is eaten up with Lake Cowichan, but overall it's about the same travel.
Well, and anybody who's been around junior beanie for any length of time knows that you need to be frugal in order to be successful. This is not an organization that's going to pull in thousands and thousands of fans and have huge ticket sales. So extra trip from Campbell River to Peninsula on the bus, that adds up, and that money's got to come from somewhere. So structuring the schedule a little smarter, working on that schedule as far as the travel goes is quite important, because it can really hurt a team if you're making that bus trip down the entire island several times a year.
Absolutely, but I think they've structured it right. And once we see the final schedule, and I think that's coming out pretty soon by the sounds of it, then we'll know for sure. But all the indications I've heard from the people I've talked to around the league, the travel hasn't really increased that much. Maybe just a little bit because of the extra games, but overall, the average road trip for the Storm has actually decreased.
One other rumor that I've heard, and I don't know if you've heard the same rumor, if this is completely off base, but I've heard for the last couple of years that there's an organization trying to get off the ground further north than Campbell River. Yes. I've heard Port Hardy a few times, and in a hypothetical scenario, what is your thought on a team that far north joining the league? Because now you're dealing with overnighters and hotels and the whole kit.
Yeah, I've thought about that. I knew the league had to expand. 9 teams. It just wasn't right. It just didn't fit for me. So I've been thinking about Port Hardy and whether or not that would work. But you know what? If there's enough interest, there's enough crowd, then it's something that could possibly happen. And then you really might see more of a situation where you're playing all your games within the division, and then maybe only see each other in the playoffs. If you start getting to that stage, because Port Hardy to Victoria, or to Port Hardy to Peninsula, that is going to be a trip.
Yeah, in my broadcast career, I've done those bus trips where you're on the bus for 16 hours and then you're off the bus and then immediately into a booth. And that's even harder for a player. Trying to get psyched up for a game when you're stagnant for 8 hours in a bus is challenging. Obviously, once the pros, they start getting nicer buses and planes and all that kind of stuff. But the junior guys, they're on slightly better than school buses, so that's a bit of a trek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely right. And you see it like a lot of times after a long road trip, you don't really see the away team show up for about a period.
Shifting gears a little bit, the province is opening up a little bit. It looks like everything's going positively as far as returning to what we would consider a new normal. Sports, we're going to be allowed to have spectators and proper contact rules and less COVID restrictions, which is kind of nice. Come September, it looks like we're going to be back to pre-COVID times as far as hockey goes, or, fingers crossed. What do you think the league's going to look like from 2018 to 2021? Are we going to see any significant changes in how fans react coming back to hockey after being away for 2 years? What do you think the VI is going to look like? Is it going to rebound well, or do you think it's going to suffer to begin?
Well, no, I actually think it's going to, I think the first month to 2 months, we're going to see really big crowds in the VIJHL. And then it's going to wane. And it's going to really be up to each individual organization to really market themselves, hit the social media, get people excited about their program, because it's going to be natural that the fans are going to want to come back for VIJHL hockey. But I can feel it that can dissipate if we don't do a good job promoting our product. And what a great product to promote. So I think it's up to each individual team to ensure that they are getting to their fans and making it a really enjoyable experience.
What have the other leagues around the province done to maybe come back from COVID. I know you've got your finger on the pulse of multiple leagues around the provinces in hockey. Have you seen any leagues doing anything different or unique to try and re-engage with their fans?
Not yet. I haven't seen. I've been looking around, and I see efforts in the PJ and the KI to keep fans apprised of what's going on with teams, with signings and that sort of stuff. But I haven't seen anything that has really stood out. I think probably we're doing more in the VIJHL to really promote our product. So whether it's podcasts, whether it's what you're doing right now, or it's just news features and really pumping up the boys. I think we're probably doing a better job than just about anybody else. And I'm sure somebody at the PJ and the KI is going to disagree with me.
Well, we can always call that as a challenge, because when one league succeeds and the others can follow suit, that's better for hockey as a whole. The last couple of years, obviously, we haven't had a cyclone.
Yes.
What do you think that's going to be like?
It was funny. I was just going to walk into that and say, you know what, that's a perfect example of how the leagues feed off each other, and I'm not doing it because you're the host and I want to be back on the show. But back in 2016, you guys brought it up to a new level. And then the following season, Creston did the same. Then the following year after that, Richmond did the same. So each year, we've been feeding off each other's leagues or any other social media or broadcast medium. We've been all working together and feeding off each other to make the product better. And like I say, I look back at 2016 and the cyclone, and that was a good pivotal moment about introducing stuff like the roving mic with Clay. That was good. And I mean, I did the same thing the next year. I was the roving mic in Creston, but those are the things you need to do. And it's going to be interesting to see what Delta does this year, because they're hosting the Cyclone Taylor Cup, and it's a go from everything I've heard.
Just a quick recap for those of you who weren't sure what Mark was alluding to. I seem to have inadvertently started a trend where I had Clay Cochran, who was the broadcaster for then the Saanich Braves and now the Saanich Predators, on a wireless mic going through the crowd, interviewing coaches and players and fans and stuff like that. It was more just a shtick, just for something fun, because I happen to have the hardware capable of doing it. And it worked so well that I'm glad everybody's taking it on, because it was so much fun.
It's been at every Cyclone Taylor Cup since. I mean, we had Lorenzo and on the roving mic. I think we even had you on the roving mic in the gold medal game. Yep. In Campbell River.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Hopping on to different broadcasts has always been a lot of fun. About how close we are as broadcasters in the provinces. We kind of like jump in unplanned on each other's broadcasts if you just happen to be in the building and stuff like that. It adds a new flair to the game. I know Tom and I have a very unique way to do a broadcast. We're very unconventional compared to what is considered standard. So, mixing things up every once in a while is kind of fun. And I'm definitely excited to see what Delta does.
It's a very good group on the island. Everybody seems to support everybody. If you need any information, half the time you don't even have to ask for the information. You'll get an email from another broadcaster saying, "Oh, by the way, this is how you pronounce this young man's name." So, we work really well together, and it's probably, for our level of hockey, Junior B, we probably, as a group, have one of the best core broadcasters anywhere.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, talking about broadcasters. Have we introduced, or have we heard of any new names coming to the new organizations yet? I know no. They're out there looking, but I haven't heard any names dropped yet.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of things, but nothing I can put my sign off on. But I know that Hammer was hinting that he might like to call a few games, but I don't know if anything's got going on that. But that would be pretty incredible if you had a Hammer calling the Port Alberni games.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
I'm not sure about Lake Cowichan, but I've heard a few things.
Well, and most of us, Lake Cowichan is kind of in the middle of a lot of the island. It's a little far for Campbell River as far as just a quick trip up the island, but
I'll make the trip.
Oh yeah, so maybe we can put that out there if anybody from the Krakens listen. Maybe we can do by committee. Everybody picks a couple of games and does it, and we'll have a little fun there. But I'm excited to possibly see 2 new Junior B broadcasters in the VI, and if not, then we can pick up the slack. But a few closing words from you, Mark. What have you been up to? What are you going to be doing in the upcoming season? What's new from the Storm and from Mark Barry?
Well, I've been busy. Lee Stone's kept me pretty busy with all his signings, and there's more news to be coming out of it. I'm heading over to Abbotsford in the next couple of days for the Canada Day Cup tournament, and I'm going to be doing some social media stuff on that. And then I've got the VIJHL Breakout podcast. We've already put out 2 episodes, and we're going to put out a couple more in July, a couple more in August, and then we'll go to weekly. And we'll have the same features we've had before this week in the VI, along with Where Are They Now, tracking down former VIJHL greats and letting you know where they are. So we got lots and lots happening around the VIJHL, and if I'm not doing that, I'll be working out in my pond.
Well, hey, there you go. All right, Mark. Well, here's time to maybe plug your social media. Where can people find you? Where can people get a hold of you?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter at mfberry60. You can also find me on I'm on Instagram. I'm just starting to figure my way around Instagram, and then I really encourage you to follow me on SoundCloud, and just have to search Mark F. Barry, and there's all kinds of features on the VIJHL audio features, and working on some more YouTube videos for the Campbell Storm. So, but yeah, follow me on SoundCloud and catch up on everything happening in the VIJHL.
Well, I want to thank Mark Barry for joining me. It was a good chat, good catch up from a very strange couple of years in hockey, hopefully getting back to a new normal. So once again, thank you, Mark Barry from the Campbell River Storm. He just listed off his social media. Go follow him, follow his Instagram, his Twitter, his SoundCloud. Just don't follow him in real life. And I think everything will be good. I want to thank again Raw Sports for giving us this awesome platform, Howie's Car Corral and Galaxy Motors for providing the necessary to get this all done. Follow us on My Call Podcast on Instagram, as well as mycallpodcast@gmail.com if you want to get a hold of me for the show. Mark Barry, one last time, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll definitely have to talk soon.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.